Hello guys, you are once again welcome to the Student Learning Hub platform, and today I'll be taking you through statistics. One of the topics that most of the time or all the time comes to the WASI exams pertaining to mathematics. And so under the statistics, I'll be taking you through what we call the measures of central tendency. Now, when we talk about the measures of central tendency, we are basically talking about the averages that we use in statistics. And there are three averages. And these averages are the mean, the median, and mode. So these are the measures of central tendency. Measures of central tendency. Take note. Measures of central tendency. Now, anything apart from these three, that is your standard deviation, your mean deviation, your variance, your interquartile range, the upper quartile, lower quartile, and all those things, we call them measures of dispersion. Measures of dispersion. But today we are taking the measures of central tendency. So we'll take a look at what we call mean. And mean of what thing? Mean for what we call set of numbers. Set of numbers. Now, finding the mean of a set of numbers, we are saying that the mean is denoted by what we call x bar. Mean is denoted by x bar, and it is given by sigma x over n. Sigma x over n. That's the mean. Now, what is saying here is summation of all x values over the number of what? X values. That's the meaning of the formula that we are saying here. So you sum up all the x values over the number of x values. So for example, if I give you 2, 4, 6, 8, and then 10, and I ask you to find the mean or to find the average of these numbers, then your formula should be x bar should be equal to the summation of all the numbers. That is 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8 plus 10 all over 5 numbers. And when you sum these numbers up, you are going to get 30 over 5, and that gives us 6. Therefore, the mean of this set of numbers is 6. Let's take another example. If I have 1, 0, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want to find the mean, then it will be given by x bar is equal to the summation of the numbers that we are seeing here, and that is 1 plus 1 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 all over how many numbers we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all over 7. And then we sum them. So 2 plus 0 is 2, plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7, plus 4 is 11, plus 5 is 16. So we are going to have 16 over 7. And that gives us 2.28. So that gives us 2.28. So this is how we find the mean for set of numbers. Okay, so we'll also be taking the mean from frequency distribution table. So the one that we learned earlier is from the set of numbers. Now, if you are to find the mean from the frequency distribution table, then we are saying that if the values of x, that is, let's say x1 x2, x3, and so on, and then x4 occur with corresponding f values like f1, f2, f3, f4, then we are saying that the mean from such a table will be given by x bar is equal to sigma fx over sigma f. So whenever the question is pertaining to a frequency distribution, then the formula is given by sigma fx over sigma f. Why? Because the question is talking about frequency distribution table, and because it is frequency distribution table, we have f. Is that okay? Now, it means that they are going to give you x values and their corresponding f values, and the f value is the frequencies. So let's take one example under this particular one and see. So if we have a table like this, we have values like x values like we have number of minutes and the number of trainees. Let's just say we have 1 to 10. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And then we have the corresponding frequencies to be 1 goes with 2, 2 goes with 3, 3 goes with 5, 4 goes with 10, 5 goes with 15, 6 goes with 30, 7 goes with 25, 8 goes with 25, no, 8 goes with 15, so sorry about that, 8 goes with 15, 9 goes with 10, and then 10 goes with 5. If you are to find the mean from such a table, then you are supposed to use the formula to create your own table. And I always tell people that creating the table is not difficult provided you have the formula. Now if I want to create a table for such a formula, what I'm going to do is that I'm going into the formula to go and pick the letters I see one after the other, with the exception of the sigma. And so you can see that from the formula I have what you call x, so I put my x down. From the formula I'm having what we call f, and so I put f down. Then when I'm done, I'll come and pick the letters in pair. So I picked x, I picked f. So the next thing I'm going to do is to pick what we call fx, and so I'm going to have what we call fx. Is that clear? So from here I create my table and I have my x, which is 1 to 10. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And then their corresponding frequencies, we have 2, we have 3, we have 5, we have 10, we have 15, we have 30, we have 25, we have 15, we have 10, and then we have 5. And so the fx that we are seeing here simply means that the f values multiplied by the x values, which means 1 times 2 will give us 2, 2 times 3 will give us 6, 3 times 5 will give us 15, 4 times 10 will give us 40, 15 times 5, and that gives us 75. 6 times 30, and that gives us 180. 7 times 25, and that gives us 175. 8 times 15, and that gives us 120. 9 times 10, that gives us 90. And then 10 times 5, that gives us 50. So we are saying that whenever you want to get your fx, you have to multiply the x values by the f values, and that gives you fx. Now, the sigma here is telling us that we are supposed to sum up the fx. So we are seeing sigma fx, sigma fx, sigma fx. So it means that we sum up the fx values, and so we are going to have sigma fx. And if you should add these numbers, 2 plus 6 plus 15 plus 40 plus 75 plus 180 plus 175 plus 120 plus 90 plus 50, is going to give us what we call 753. So we have 753, and the formula says that sigma fx over sigma f. So we are also supposed to find the summation of all the f values, So all the f values, we have them here. We have to find their summation, and that gives us sigma f. And if you add 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 10 plus 15 plus 30 plus 25 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5, this gives us 120. 120 for the sigma f. And so from here, if I am to find the mean, then as the formula is saying, x bar is equal to the sigma fx over the sigma f. Sigma fx over sigma f. And I know sigma fx is giving me as 753 all over the sigma f, which is 120. And then if you punch this correctly, you are going to get what we call 6.275. Alright, so this is what we have for the mean from the frequency distribution table, and so this becomes our answer for the mean. We'll take another example, one more, and then we move to the other type of mean. Let's have another question. Let's just say we are to find the mean of the ages of people, and so we have a table. And we have the ages in years, and then we have the frequency. Remember, the frequency, always I tell my people that frequencies are human beings. So we have age 14, and there are 10 people who aged 14. We have 15, and then we have 35 people aging 15. We have 16, we have 7, we have 17, we have 5, we have 18, and we have 3. So we have another table, and we are to find the mean of this distribution. Now, because this particular question is in a tabular form, it means that we are going to create a table using the sigma fx over sigma f. Remember, before you work out anything, try and read the questions that are being asked under the table. It's from those questions that you are going to get your formula and how to draw your table. So if the question is talking about you finding the mean, then you know that mean, before even you draw the table, mean is given by sigma fx over sigma f. Sigma fx over sigma f. So from here, Then we create a table. How do I create the table? We know what to do. From here, I have, remember, we pick the letters one after the other. So my first letter I'm going to pick is X. And from the table, the X value is the same as the age. So the F is the same as the age. Then the human being is the F. So I have X, I have F. And then the next thing is I pick them in pair. So my next, I'm going to have Fx. So for my X values, I have 14, I have 15, I have 16, I have 17, and then I have 18. Then for the F values, I have 10, I have 35, I have 7, I have 5, and then I have 3. So from here, I take my calculator and then I start my work. So 14 times 10, I'm going to have my 140 for the fx. I'm going to have 525. I'm going to have 112. I'm going to have 85, and then I'll be having 54. So now that I have this, the formula says sigma fx. So it means that sum up all the fx values, sum up all the fx values. And we know that the fx values are the ones here, so I underline and then I find the sigma fx. When I add up these values, I sum them up, I'm going to get 916. And then when I sum up these values also, which is the sigma f, I am getting 60. So if I want to find my mean, then I can say that mean will be given by x bar is equal to the sigma fx, which is 916 all over 60, and that gives us 15.3. And so this gives us our mean. Alright, so that's that. So we'll be taking another type of mean, and it's called the assumed mean. Now with the assumed mean, the mean is going to be assumed for you, and you'll be asked to find the mean again. So we are saying that whenever the question decides a mean for you, that mean is termed as assumed mean or assumed mean. Now the assumed mean is given by the formula mean, which is x bar, the mean, that is when given the assumed mean, is given by the formula x bar, which is our mean, is equal to a, which is the assumed mean, plus sigma fd all over sigma f. So we are saying that if you are to find the mean when you are given the assumed mean, then the mean will be given by assumed mean, or a plus sigma fd over sigma f, where d equals deviation, which is the x values minus the a or the assumed mean. So the d that we are seeing over here is what we call the deviation, which is the x values minus the assumed mean that the question will decide for you. That is it. So on that note, we are going to take a question and then we'll see how we use this particular formula. Now, let's just say we have a table. Let's have a table. Let's take a look at a table. So we are going to take a look at a table like wages, and then number of workers. Number of workers. Number of workers. So for the wages, we having 40 to 49, and that's 4. We have 50 to 59, and that's 12. We have 60 to 69, and that's 18. We have 70 to 79, and that's 11. We have 80 to 89, and that's 7. We have 90 to 99, and that's 5. We have 100 to 109, and that's 2. And then we have 110 to 119, and that gives us 1. Now, if I'm be giving this with an assuming, so you are giving this table with the assumed mean or the assumed mean of, let's just say, 74.50. That's what we call the assuming. So this is the assuming that is giving you. It is not the actual mean. It has just been assumed, or it is assumed. Now, per the formula that we are having here, it means that you are to create the rest of the table, or to continue the rest of the table from what has been given from the table, the formula. So what we are going to do is that we already know what the wages are. These are the wages. In other words, we call them intervals. Now, intervals are not the same as x values, and so, to be able to find the d, the formula says that d is the same as x minus a. But here lies the case that we don't have x in this table. What we are having here are not x values, rather they are called what? Intervals. And so, in order for me to get what we call x values, then we are saying that your x values, we are going to call them class midpoint. So we are going to say class midpoint or mid value. So we are going to have midpoint or mid value, and then this gives us our x values. Now, when we talk about class midpoint, what we are simply saying is that add up the class intervals. That's the 40 and 49. You add these two values up, and then you divide by 2 to be able to get what we call what? Your class midpoint or your class mid value. So I'm going to add 40 plus 49, and that gives me 89. So when I divide 89 by 2, I'm going to get 44.5. Then I'll do the same thing for 50 and 59, and that gives me 54.5. And if you look at it carefully, you can see that the interval is just 10. So the next one, I'm going to add 10 to this, and that gives me 64.5. The next thing I'm going to add, I'm going to get 74.5. I'm going to get 84.5. I'm going to get 94. 0.5. I'm going to have 104.5, and the next thing I'm going to get is 114.5. so this gives me what we call the class midpoint or the class mid value. Now I'm continuing, so I now know x, but the formula says that anytime we want to get what we call the deviation, we are to subtract the assumed mean from the x values, and we know from the question that the assumed mean is 74.50, and so my next table, which is called the D or the deviation, I know that it is given by the x minus a. So when I take x, which is 44.5, I'll subtract 74.5 from the 44.5, and that gives me 30. So I'm going to have negative 30. The next one, 54.5 minus 74.5, and that gives me negative 20. The next, I'm going to get negative 10. The next, I'll be getting 0. The next, I'll be getting 10. Next, I'll be getting 20. Next, when I subtract this, I'm going to get 30. And then when I subtract this, I'm going to get 40. So that gives me my D or the deviation. And we said it is always given by x minus the a. So that's your D. X minus a. That gives you your D. Now, I earlier told you that to create a table, you need to pick the letters in the formula one after the other. So I'm done picking the D. So the next table I'm going to create is what we call FD. Alright, so having FD, it simply means the frequency, that's the number of workers, times the deviation. So you pick the first frequency, which is 4, and multiply by the first deviation, that is minus 30. And when you multiply this, you are going to get minus 120. And then you do the same thing. So the next one will be 12 times the minus 20, and that gives us minus 240. We continue, we are going to have the 18 times the minus 10, that gives us minus 180. And the next one, we pick the frequency, which is 11, times the deviation, which is 0, and that gives us 0. The next, we pick 7, and then the 10, and that gives us 70. We pick 5, and then the 20, and that gives us 100. We pick 2 and then 30, and that gives us 60. And then we pick 1 and then 40, and that gives us 40. So this gives us what we call the FD. That's the frequency multiplied by the deviation. Now that we have this, we already know the assuming, which is the A, and that's 74.5. So now having this, now the formula is saying that we are to sigma the FD. It means that we are supposed to sum up the FD. That is the FD over here. We are supposed to sum them up. And so we find the summation of the FD values. Summation of the FD values. And let's see what that gives us. So we are going to have sigma FD is equal to, so we are going to add negative 120 plus negative 240 plus negative 180, 0, 70, 100, 60, 40, and when you add up everything, if you add it very well, you're going to get negative 270. You're going to get negative 270. So now having negative 270, Then the next thing you are supposed to do also is that the formula says you are to find the summation of all the f values, and we know our f values is the same as the number of workers. So we are going to have sigma f, that's sigma f, we are going to have sigma f, and that gives us 60. Now having these two values, we put it inside the formula, that's substitution into the formula, and that gives us mean is equal to the A, which is the assumed mean, that is 74.50 plus the sigma FD, which is minus 240 over the sigma F, which is what, 60. Now if you punch these values together, there's no need punching it one after the other. Just type everything on your calculator and then put the answer. It gives us 70. It gives us 70. And so the mean, or the value for the mean, is 70. The rest of the measures of central tendency will be taken care of in our next video. Thank you very much and stay blessed.